Welcome to the Grocery Shop for Free podcast. I am here with my lovely co-host, Diane.
Hello.
We have got a very, very interesting show for you today. One that, I wasn't sure how interested in it I was going to be, but once I talked to this gentleman, it at least opened my eyes to a different way of saving on groceries. Today we're going to talk to Alan Muscat, and he is going to tell us all about foraging, like just collecting food from the place that you live, the land around you, which...
It's very interesting. It's funny when you think about it because it's like, are you kidding me? But,
Yeah.
but it was really, really interesting. I was kind of shocked. I was talking to one of our kids about it the other day, and he was like, what does that mean? And I said, like, when you go, like, you've heard of animals foraging in the forest. He goes, yeah, that's what I thought. He said, but you're talking to somebody who's telling you as a person how to do that. It's kind of foreign to us when we think about that.
It is, but at least opened my eye to a different way of getting your food, and I think you'll be interested in it. And so, Alan, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
No, we love having you on here, and this is a topic that interests me because we love to teach people how to save on their groceries, and usually we're talking about couponing and how to save at the grocery store, but this is we might have food growing in our backyard that we could get to that would definitely save us some money. So, Alan, how did you get into this? How did you start doing this?
Well, I to be honest, I think my family has always loved a bargain, and so we would go to yard sales growing up, and I tell people I go to a yard sale now every day in my yard. So I did first start, I think, clearly because it was free food, and that wasn't until after college. I had these huge loans, and I didn't have a job for 2 years, and I also wanted to eat health food, and I was traveling around, and I picked this up gradually, eventually started teaching, but that was 20 to 25 years ago when I started.
Man, that is fascinating. So, tell us about how
It's so foreign.
Yeah, it is. I'm not even sure what questions to ask, but what are your top reasons to forage? We'll start there.
Yeah. Yeah, it just strikes me. I always learn listening to people's reactions, like to say it's so foreign, and I'm talking about something in your yard that you probably step on if you go off the pavement,
Exactly.
Right.
So one of the reasons, and I count 7 of them, is it's precisely that. It's like reconnecting to nature, and it's not the first reason most people think of. Of course, being free is the first one. And I would say fun could be the last or the most important. If you're a kid, it feels like an Easter egg hunt every day.
Yeah.
So that's
Now, I do remember growing up, there would be green onions that would grow like by the riverbank, and we'd pick those and kind of put those in our mouth. But that's probably the most foraging I've ever done.
Yeah. So that is right there. I was interviewing, and I had the guy meet me out at a park just 2 days ago, and I told him, look right there, like they were all over the place on the riverbed. We were on the river. So that's, I think, 3 reasons out of 7. There's really 4 more. I mentioned that it's healthier. I mean, this is the true natural food, And then it's healthier for the environment. It doesn't have to be, packed and shipped and fertilized or pesticided, and it also makes you independent. Obviously, some people think everything's going to fall apart and they want to be prepared, and it's kind of liberating regardless.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's a big deal now to eat more organic, more locally grown food. But boy, this is really that to the nth degree. It's incredibly local, and it's probably the most organic food you could find.
Yeah.
And is this just a vegetarian lifestyle?
No, I think I'm beyond that, because to be vegetarian, a lot of people still buy their food in the store, and they buy a lot of, when it's something like a fake meat, it's pretty processed. They have to try very hard to simulate, what is natural, and it may not be. So I hunt, and I feel really good about that being local, and me knowing exactly where something came from, and that it didn't grow up in a cage.
Well, that's an excellent point. When I don't know why my brain goes to this first, but when I think of someone foraging, I think of someone getting a poisonous mushroom and it killing them or something. Can foraging be dangerous? Is there are there things that we need to know?
Yeah, I mean, that's where everyone's mind goes to. And, that's fine. In a way, it keeps us safe to be careful. And you have to be. But unfortunately, we've gotten so afraid and disconnected that, we might think 90% of mushrooms, right, probably the scariest thing to eat out of the woods, are deadly. And the truth is that out of 10,000 kinds of mushrooms in North America, 5 of them are deadly. Just 5.
Oh, wow.
So
the chances are pretty good that after a rain or something, the mushrooms that are growing in your front yard are safe.
Well, no, that's not true, because there's stuff that won't kill you, but it'll make you wish you were dead.
Oh, my goodness.
Including the most common poisoning mushroom in the country grows right in people's front yards after a rain. And it's called the gut wrencher. So,
it sounds. Oh my goodness. Okay.
So what if we all started doing this? I mean, there's not enough for everybody.
Well, that's a separate concern, and I want to address that too. You named 2 out of the 4 questions I get asked for the past 20 years over and over again, and we'll get to the other 2, but. The fact is, it's relatively safe to forage, because what do you think humans ate, BC, before Costco? We had to eat wild food. We're just not used to it. I mean, you're going to get in your car today and do something far more dangerous, but you're used to doing it,
Right.
So the second question was like, there can't possibly be enough for everybody. That's really the 4th out of 4 objections, and that one is true. I mean, we can't all go and find enough food in the wild. We've gotten rid of too much of the wild, unfortunately, and we've too many people. But there is a solution, because growing food isn't working either. I mean, we cannot keep up, and we're destroying the environment the way we grow food. So what you can do is if you ever had a garden, you get weeds. Well, why don't you just grow the weeds, and you won't have to keep pulling them, okay? Weed it and reap is the term.
Okay. Weed it and eat. Is that what you said?
No, weed it and reap. Like reap.
Oh, weed it and reap. Okay.
Yeah. So what you're saying is the weeds you can eat.
Yeah. If you go with the flow, if you don't try to grow something that doesn't naturally belong there, then gardening becomes easy, and you don't have to use herbicides and the stuff that is poisonous.
So leaving weeds in your garden. So I guess when we weed a garden, we're doing it for aesthetic reasons. It doesn't do anything to the quality of the food.
Well, it does. It competes, and it takes over tomatoes, and it's not just you want to eat certain things, like corn and wheat, and you don't want amaranth or lamb's quarter growing there. But before corn came here, that's what people ate. Those are the weeds, and you could eat the weeds and not have to, work against nature.
Oh, that's interesting. So,
Yeah, it is.
yeah. So, again, this is all just very, very, very foreign to me. Is there any way to harm the environment if you do this? Are we taking away, removing things from the natural ecosystem?
Yeah, that would be the sort of the third of four objections. And the answer is, put it into context. Like, if you don't forage, you actually hurt the woods more than if you do.
Oh.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, because if you don't gather your own food, you're buying it in the store. And to produce it for the store is far more destructive than even everyone tomorrow going out and harvesting as much as they could.
That's
Okay,
very interesting.
So before we get to that fourth objection, talk to the person that's listening to this that has all their life gone to Walmart to buy their produce or whatever, and they think, you know what, maybe I want to try this. How do they try it? Like, what's step one? What's step two? What do they need to do?
Yeah, I think
to educate themselves.
You'd be surprised. Last thing you probably imagine is that you'd learn from your kids. But I bet you that across the country, any kid who gets let out for PE, with any amount of grass that hasn't been sprayed, has found, that onion grass that you mentioned, or something that kids call sour grass or sour clover, and that grows as a weed everywhere. And
I used to play with those when I was growing up. I remember chewing on those and putting them in my mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so natural. And, we're just so afraid now. And the one thing people have to remember is learn from someone else. Like, we think, okay, I'm going to buy a book. But it's real hard to learn any skill from a book. Like, would you learn how to swim from a book, or drive, like I said, You go out with someone, when you learn how to drive or ride a bike, and it's the same with foraging.
So are there...
Because that means there are people out there doing this, and I have yet to meet anyone other than you that mentioned this outside of somebody that I would learn from.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked, and I'm also a little frustrated that there isn't a network, and I'm working on this. I'm actually in conversation with a national society that to really go big and have basically like a Boy Scouts for families, really. Oddly enough, the Boy Scouts don't even have a merit badge for wild food. It's very strange.
That is weird.
So I have to admit it can be hard, but I know that there are particularly for wild mushrooms, there's at least one club for every state, so you can learn wild mushrooms from. But there isn't there's meetup groups and there's Facebook groups that you can connect people with all around. That weeded and reap phrase comes from a book from a guy who I think lives in Nebraska, like of all places. I know people are not in every state, but they're around, particularly people from other countries. Like anyone, if you step foot in Eastern Europe, knows how to forage. And some of them have moved here, and you can learn, from them.
Yeah, I'd be interested in maybe seeing if these, once these groups get up and running, attending a few classes or something. It just sounds something so unique. However, Diane and I live right smack dab in the middle of one of the largest metropolitan areas in the U.S. Live right in the center of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So what if you live in a city? Is this doable if you're in the city?
Yeah, where are you, Dallas?
Dallas,
Oh, yeah, Dallas. I just got written up on the Dallas Morning News.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. I didn't go there. I know that sooner or later some TV show is going to make me do. On Sunday, we're actually going to. It's a whole other matter, but I have people coming from England for a TV show who want to do roadkill. So
Oh, wow.
that's another a whole nother subject.
Right?
Well, we used to live out in Glen Rose, which is a much more rural part of Texas, and yeah, roadkill was kind of a. In fact, we were with someone, and they had
we were on the way back. We were on the way back from gym class. We attended a gym class with other homeschoolers, and we were following this friend of ours back who lived out there in the country all her life. She stopped suddenly on this back road, and we were like, what is she doing? Jumped out of her truck, and there was a deer that was dead that got caught in a fence. And she pulled that deer out of that fence and threw it in the back of her truck. I was shocked.
Yeah. That did not seem like normal behavior, but it probably fed her family for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I had deer for lunch today, and it was hunter, not roadkill. I mean, hunter kind of leftovers, and but there is so much. I mean, the Northeast deer are like rats there, and
Right.
it's a it's a waste. Like in the city, that's suburban. But to answer your question, I mean, there is more wild food in the city than there is in the country.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason is like all the things we're calling weeds, like they need sunlight, and that's why they'll come out in your garden. So anywhere we cleared, we clear for, to develop, the weeds are going to come up. The problem in the city isn't finding the stuff, and it isn't eating the wrong stuff. It's the fact that you don't know what kind of lead and toxins besides that, right? Like, petrochemical, like car runoff is in the soil. That's sadly the real danger. Yeah.
Is there a way to maybe measure maybe the soil in your yard to find out, if what the toxic chemical levels are?
Yeah, I'd love to. I don't know of like a simple, soil test that you get in the drugstore or that the cooperative extension will run for you for free or cheap. It's really a tough question, probably the hardest one for me to address. And I eat out of my yard. You don't know what someone did maybe many years ago, but if there are weeds in your yard now, then or your neighbors, that they're not spraying. If it looks pristine, like you don't want to take at a golf course or next to one because that. Yeah.
Right.
Man, you've certainly given us a lot to think about. So I guess let's wrap it up. If some of my listeners are as fascinated by this conversation as I am, where do they need to go? Where can they contact you?
Yeah, I'm at notastelikehome.org.
Notastelikehome.org. We're going to put that link in the show notes for you guys. So notastelikehome. And what describe that site to us? What's on there?
Yeah, I said you can't learn from a book, and I don't try to teach from the site. I have tours. I'm based in Asheville, North Carolina, and I do travel on occasion elsewhere by arrangement. So that's what I offer, and I'll have a book coming out hopefully by fall of next year, and people can send me photos, and I can do my best, but and I can try to connect them with resources in their area. But I'm sure they're out there. It just probably takes more looking than walking into the grocery store.
Yeah, that's definitely convenient. Walking into the grocery store. Well, my goodness, Alan, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You've definitely given us a ton to think about and to wonder if maybe there's adding a foraging component to our grocery shopping might not save us some money and make our lives a little easier. This has been fascinating if nothing else.
It really has.
I love the free aspect.